how do staff deal with rude, aggressive, potentially violent clients or customers?
You think about what are the things that cause people to either act out outside of just flat out hate, which there's not a lot you can do to educate people in a short part of time. So if you discount that, and let's talk about the 90% of people who the reason they walk in and they're irritated with a client or a customer or a storefront is because they're not being heard. They're upset about something. So the best way to combat people, the conflict management, is empathy. Repeat what people say. Say, what's your problem, sir? What's your problem, ma'am? They're going to tell you the problem. Repeat it back to them. Make them feel as if you've heard it. You understand. Say, I understand your issues. Please let me try and make this better for you. Don't try to fix their issue right away. Just try to tell them right out of the gate, let me try to make this better for you. And then break it down point per point. There's going to be times though, and this is the important part where they say the customer's always right. That's not true. So I'm going to mix in a little bit of HR here. You have an obligation at all times to protect your employees, right? So some clients and some customers are not going to be the nicest of people to your employees. There's a line where you try to comfort, you choose empathy, try to, work with your client or your customer to try and bring them to a point of resolution where you could at least have a calm conversation. And once you get to the point of calm conversation, the conflict's gone. Right now we're problem solving. So that's always your goal. You're not always going to be able to fix their issue. You just want to get the conflict put to the side so you can have a calm, reasonable conversation. If that's not happening, at a certain point, you have to remove that customer or client, or remove your employee if you need to, from that situation or escalating any farther, because again, you have a responsibility in every jurisdiction in Canada to the due diligence aspect to make sure your employees are safe in every single circumstance.
So one scenario that we hear all the time is, accusation. So a customer saying, well, you're doing this because of this, or you're doing this because of that. And they're very hostile, and there is no way to calm them down. And they continue to be aggressive, and the staff, is just kind of doing what they're supposed to do. So in that circumstance, what is your advice for, the most senior person on the floor, who is kind of there to be the leader?
Regardless, the key thing to do with a situation like that is, one, obviously try to de-escalate. It's not always you're not always able to de-escalate in the middle of a store with other people present. And a lot of times for some people, the reason they're doing this out loud in front of other people is because they're trying to get other people's attention. So whenever possible, try to do the things that would de-escalate it simply by, dealing with the removal of eyes and ears. Ask them if they'd like to come back in the back room and have a private conversation, or take them to a corner of the store where there's less people. Another thing that I really encourage employers to do is get them to write down what their issue is. Say, listen, again, the empathy piece, right? I understand you. I hear you. I want to help you. You're not necessarily trying to solve the problem. You're just trying to de-escalate the tone, right? So I understand you. I hear you. Repeat back what their issue is. I want to hear you. We take these things very seriously. I would love it if you would please just write this down for me so we can action it appropriately. If we have a written complaint, if we have a written submission, then we can actually move forward it through our channels and make sure you get the proper resolve, and we'll be happy to follow up with you. When they're writing something down, they're not yelling at your staff. So it's really important, whether it be taking them to the back room where they can be separated from the ears and the eyes, going to a corner of the store where there's less people that can get involved. And if you have the opportunity and they're patient enough, get them to write it down. If they're writing it down, they're not yelling. So and it also makes them feel like they have a pathway forward, like something official is happening, if you will.
With regards to how to train staff to deal with hostile, aggressive clients / customers, what are we doing at HR Covered? What's in the pipeline coming forward to help staff have those tools and have that training?
Obviously, we have our HR advisors who, are HR is human behavior to one extent or another. It's the interaction of employee with employee, and we can extend that to, the interaction between employees and clients and customers. But we formally are in the process of developing a series of new modules for our existing and, prospective clients, in addition to the legislative models we have. Number one on the list, and really happy that you asked the question, is conflict management with clients and customers. So we're actually developing a module that you'll be able to provide to your clients, or to your employees, begging your pardon, that will train them in methods, like reasons why these things happen, methods about how best to handle it, and proactive measures how they might not happen again. So we're expecting, I would think that module will be ready in the upcoming months, no later than early next year.